Welcome to the video on supporting carers. My name is Yuka Kowada and I'll be your presenter. This presentation is about supporting carers. I'd like to first acknowledge the great contributions carers make, and then look at carers' views on what their needs are. I'll then move on to the definition of the carer and their situation and the kind of support the carers provide. From the middle of the presentation, I'd like to talk about the impact of care on carers' lives and where stress is coming from, and conclude by talking about what kind of support carers can use in order to continue being a carer. It might not be well known that carers make significant contributions to the quality of life of many people. Over 1 in 8 Australians provided informal care in 2015, and that will be approximately 2.86 million people. When we calculate how much money all the informal care was worth, it will be approximately $60.3 billion per year. So it's very clear that it's virtually impossible to sustain a care system without informal carers. If you are, you should be very proud of this. What you do is extremely important. Carers' rights are not just recognized socially. The new legislation, Carer Recognition Act of 2010, is Commonwealth legislation that recognizes the important role of carers. The rights recognized include the rights for privacy and confidentiality, be recognized as a contributor to the health of the person, work outside home and be supported by employers, be heard and treated with respect, use public spaces and businesses without discrimination, complain about provided services, and appeal against unfavorable decisions. There are some other legislations that protect rights of carers. Importance of carers' contributions is also acknowledged by policymakers. On March 2018, Minister for Social Services announced the funding of $85.6 million to support carers. You can now have up to 6 free or low-cost counseling sessions for carers, either face-to-face or by phone. There's also an online resource page for carers called Carers Gateway. You can call Carers Gateway and they will direct you to the Carers Association in your state or territory. Some people might not be sure whether they're carers or not, and think, for example, that they're only doing it temporarily when they're not. However, you might be surprised. According to the Care Recognition Act of 2010, the definition of a carer is a person who cares for someone with a disability, mental health or medical problems, or is frail-aged. People who are up to 25 years of age and providing unpaid care for their family members are called young carers. There are some supports specifically for young carers. I'll talk about the support resources for young carers in a later section. You might often hear the word primary carer, but what does it mean exactly? A primary carer is somebody 15 years or older who is providing most of the informal care for the person for at least one of core activities: mobility, self-care, or communication. So primary carers do much more than other carers. I'd like to also comment here that when people say carers, it usually refers to informal carers. So paid carers are not informal carers. their professional carers. This presentation is for carers. So let's see how carers actually feel. According to various surveys, many carers say that they need to get support with information, support for care, and support for other dimensions. The kind of information carers needed were mainly about multiple sclerosis, available support, and about government benefits. For care support, carers needed more intensive support at diagnosis and easy access to services, more access to home care support, respite, complex care and rural support, advocacy, and legal support. For other dimensions of care, carers needed to get more recognition, respect, access to employment, relationship support, and emotional support, among other supports. I looked at these needs and structured this presentation so that I can respond to these needs. People might not realize this, but many carers are quite vulnerable. The average age of the primary carer is 55 years old, and more than 2/3 are female. More than half of primary carers provide care for 20 hours per week. And primary carers' income is 42% lower than non-carers, and their average income is $520 per week. So, if the primary carers are mainly women and not very young, they might not be able to lift heavy people. They might be financially disadvantaged. Also, primary carers might be busy and tired if they spend 20 or more hours per week caring for someone. You might recall that a primary carer provides support with one of the core activities: mobility, self-care, or communication. If you're a carer, you might be thinking, "Oh, I do much more than that." Well, the Australian Bureau of Statistics conducted a survey of carers. This survey shows that among people who answered the survey, 79.4% provided emotional support, 75.5% provided personal care such as toileting and mobility support, 59.1% provided support with practical tasks such as dressing and showering, 54.3% provided support with interpreting and advocating for the person. Carers also become guardians or have the power of attorney for the person, so legal support is also important. And there are many other supports carers provide which are not listed here. When caring for someone, planning ahead is really important. Please seek help as early as you can to get the best outcome. Both the carer and the person they're caring go through different stages of care. At the beginning, carers start caring, and sometimes care begins before the diagnosis of multiple sclerosis. It's necessary to get information, to link up with services, learn how to care, and adjust to the care role. When care continues, both the carer and the person have to live with uncertainties because of relapses, uncertain financial and other situations, such as relationship and emotional changes. There are also ongoing needs, such as supporting the person with symptom management. When caring for someone, it's extremely important to self-care and to manage stress with competing demands. At the last stage, care can discontinue because of various reasons, such as switching to formal care in residential care, professional home care, breakdown in the relationship, or when the person passes away. It's sometimes difficult for a carer to adjust to a life after care because they have been identifying themselves as carers for a long time. You might recall that some carers said they needed intensive support at the beginning. So I'll talk about resources for that here. For information, carers can call MS Connect on 1-800-042-138, carer support organizations in their states and territories, Carers Gateway on 1-800-422-737, and MS support groups and government supports such as NDIS and Centrelink. For medical supports for the person, carers can liaise with the GP, neurologist, and other medical professionals listed here. For planning your life around care, carers can contact carers groups in each state and territories, support groups for men, women, and young carers, and other groups. You might also need support for adjusting to the care role, for emotional issues, self-care, life planning, job and finance. Resources for these will be listed later. This is a list of carer support organizations in states and territories. So these carers associations will be providing the services to you. And if you don't know how to look up their phone numbers, you could always call Carers Gateway on 1-800-422-737, and they will direct you to the Carers Association in your own state or territory. These are the specific support groups for men and women and other groups. I was previously talking about young carers. There is a specific carer support resource for young carers, as you can see. There are also Kids Helpline and Headspace for young people's counselling. For people from culturally and linguistics diverse or cold background, there are My Aged Care specific website, and there's also Multicultural Disability Advocacy Association or MDAA. So, how does care impact a carer's life? Firstly, carers go through significant emotional changes while caring for someone. Their situation might change because of changing job, working hours, types of job, and financial situation. And also there might be a change in relationship. The carer and the person being cared for might not have an equal power balance anymore because the person becomes dependent on the carer support. On the other hand, the carer might also become dependent on the person emotionally. There might be stronger bonds because of care or less companionship and intimacy. Both are possible. There are both positive aspects and negative aspects of care. Carers might have less time, money, and sleep, but they might have more fulfillment. Carers might be isolated or have stronger bonds with the person, their family, friends, and the community. What's important is that care is about the life choice for the best outcome. How life is managed depends on the person. I would like to emphasize that everybody's situation is different. In a similar way, there are positive and negative emotions. The carer might occasionally get frustrated, angry, lonely, inadequate, not appreciated. But they might also be fulfilled, valued, more intimate with the partner, having stronger friendships and connections with their families, and more compassion for people. Everybody feels differently, and also how people feel depends on the context and situation. It's important to accept the complexity and not judge someone for having a particular emotion. A survey indicated that a carer who was not appreciated and were refused support were more stressed. For better relationships, it's important for a carer to be honest and say what he or she can do and cannot do. It's also important for the care recipient to clearly say what she or she wants or does not want. If it's difficult to say, I don't like what you're doing, you can say, I'd like you to do this and this. Honesty is the key here. Friendship is also an important aspect of relationships. Some friends might think you expect them to help with the care and move away from you. You might just want them to be your friends. If you keep the boundary and are clear about your expectations, your friends might not move away. So please remember that a clear boundary is the key to a better relationship. Stress is a serious issue for carers. Research of spouses of people with MS shows that among respondents, 40% had high anxiety and 24% had severe stress. Where is the stress coming from? Another survey shows that 59% of respondents were stressed about emotional adjustment to the care role and change to personal plans, such as new jobs. 53% were stressed about juggling competing demands, and 51% had disturbed sleep. If you are stressed, please consider counseling service or peer support, which I will talk about next. These are the resources you can use if you're stressed. As I mentioned before, National Carer Counselling Program is a form of face-to-face counselling service for carers. It's free or low cost, depending on your income and assets. You get up to 6 sessions per year, and if you need to have more counselling, you can always get mental health care plan with your GP and see a psychologist, and it's up to 10 sessions per year. Beyond Blue is a free phone counseling service for people with depression and anxiety. If your stress is coming from relationship problems, you can call Relationship Australia. Grief Line is for people who are going through loss and grief, for example, when the person you're caring passes away. If you depend on alcohol and drug to manage stress, there's an anonymous phone service you can call to get advice, called Direct Line. Another good way to manage stress is to talk to people in a similar situation. MS has a lot of peer support groups, both for the person with MS and carers. There are face-to-face groups, telegroups, one-on-one peer support, either face-to-face or by phone. You can look up the web page listed here to get some ideas and then call MS Connect on A1800-042-138 to get referral. You can also search for peer support groups on the Carers Gateway website, or you can talk to the Carers Association in your state and territories and ask them to refer you to a group. So far, we've been looking at various challenges carers are facing. It can be extremely difficult to continue to care for some people, especially when they've been caring for a long time or when the care needs are very high. Some carers might be feeling that they just have to give up. Before you give up, please consider using services to reduce stress. Planning ways to de-stress can reduce your stress and get your strength back. For example, knowing how to get emergency respite service in case you cannot care for the person will reduce your anxiety. You can also use legal means to plan for the future, such as power of attorney, guardianship, and a will. Respite is a short-term service for someone to care for the person while you're having a break. If you're concerned about financial situation, you can look into government entitlements and concessions. You can also manage your health by resting, exercising, eating nutritious meals, and taking up counseling or trying peer support for stress. These are the websites for legal resources and information for future planning, such as enduring power of attorney, medical and financial, guardianship, advanced care planning, and will. You can look at the websites to find out what they are and how to get assistance to create legal documents for these. I'd like to talk about Respite in particular because it's very important. A survey shows that 96% of carers who responded think they could continue care because of Respite. And 64% thought Respite helps reduce stress. It's interesting that 57% of carers felt guilty about using Respite, but only 6% of people who went to Respite and who had to use it were angry about it. In fact, the majority of the people being cared, 71%, wanted carers to use Respite to get a break. And 81% were happy with the Respite. So people not only want carers to use Respite, but they enjoy using the Respite. So you do not have to feel guilty about using Respite. And you can also justify using Respite because it allows you to continue care. So where do we find Respite care? These are the phone numbers and web pages of Respite services. For emergency Respite, you can call Commonwealth Respite and CareLink centers. And the phone number is 1-800-052-222. For non-emergency Respite, you can call the Carers Gateway or Carers Association in your state and territories, and you can get NDIS packages for Respite as well. And if you're a person who is 65 or older, you can find Respite through My Aged Care. As you might recall, primary carers' income is 42% lower than non-carers, and their average income is $520 per week. So the financial aspect might be a big concern for many carers. You can improve your financial situation by either increasing income or reducing spending. You might benefit from getting support from a financial counselor. You can get support to keep your job or find a job. If you cannot work because of care commitments, you can maximize the government allowances and benefits by talking to the Centrelink. If you're paying for any housework or personal care now, you might want to check if the person you're caring for can get NDIS or My Aged Care packages. There are also concession cards such as healthcare cards, carer companion card, half-price taxi ticket, and there are also concessions like medical electricity concessions. Here are the web pages for Centrelink and other benefits. The person you're caring for might be able to get the disability support pension, and you might be able to get the carer's allowance, carer's payment, carer's supplement, and other entitlements. Continence aid payment scheme might be useful if you're paying for continence pads yourself. Here are also web pages for government benefits and concessions. If you're not sure what you can get, you can look at these websites, of course, but you can often just go to the Centrelink office directly and ask what kind of support you can get. And officers are quite happy to talk to you and discuss your situations. These are the phone numbers and web pages of My Aged Care, NDIS, Disability Support Pension, and Carer Companion Card. The person you're caring might be able to get support, such as cleaning, food preparation, transport, respite, and other services through NDIS and My Aged Care, if you're paying for these things yourself at the moment. So it's worthwhile asking. Carer's Companion Card allows the person to go out and enjoy sports games, concerts, museums, zoo, theatre, fitness, movie, sightseeing, etc., etc. If they go out with you, you can have a fun time together. If they can go out with a professional care worker, it might also give carer some break from care. These are the web pages of legal services where you can get assistance. If you have any Centrelink issues, you can talk to one of the centers affiliated with the National Social Security Rights Network, as they specialize in advising people whose Centrelink benefits applications are rejected. You can also contact legal aid for free phone advice and sometimes get court representations. And you can also go to your local community centers. Women's legal services can be useful, and there are also advocacy groups for people with disabilities. This is the end of the presentation. I hope you'll be able to get some hints from this and make things easier if you're facing many challenges as a carer. If you don't know where to call, you can always call MS Connect on 1-800-042-138. And we're very happy to talk about your situation, discuss your options, and to provide referrals to specialized supports. Thanks very much. Goodbye.